All right. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the show that we have here every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time with me, Tammy Marie, the Book Whisperer. Yeah, that's me at the Authors Roundtable where I have authors on telling their stories. And I have a new author on tonight. Her name is Miss Shirley Merritt. She'll be speaking about her story tonight. And I'm excited to dive right into asking her some questions in regarding the inspiration behind her story, walking her through her life experience, different things like that. Because a lot of times we sometimes feel like when we're faced with something we feel alone a lot of times, so I always encourage you and others to tell their stories because maybe somebody else needs to hear your story to inspire them um, to heal, to grow, to mature, to elevate to the next level. And for me, my story is about prevention. So another girl or woman would not have to go through the same thing that I experienced from my brokenness to wholeness from 12 to 16 and even onward, in the mindset of and how I was moving, um, because of the product of my story. I didn't come on last week. As you can see, my voice is still a little raspy, but I barely had a voice last week. So now I'm back on this Friday. I'm usually here every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're waiting on, I have a glare. I don't know what's going on. Now we're waiting on our author to come in, Miss Shirley Merritt, for her to tell her story. I'm excited about that. Like I said, from my brokenness to wholeness, I told my story from 12 to 16. Um, being, oh, here she comes. Look at her. And she's usually, guys, I'm so excited because
Hello.
hi, Miss Shirley. How are you? How are you tonight? It is so good to see you.
Hi, I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm just proud of you that you maneuvered this technology. Okay. I was a little worried.
I know, me too.
But you know what? You
Yeah.
came right on through because a lot of
Okay.
times, like, because I was doing Facebook Live and Facebook Live was giving me so many issues.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, so many issues. So it was just been a headache after headache with Facebook
okay.
Live. But you look so pretty. Oh my gosh. I'm
I look
excited.
orange. Do I look orange to you? I look purely orange over here.
No, it's the lighting, but you don't look orange. It's just like you have a glow, like a glow.
Over here, I look just as orange as the blouse that I have on.
Girl.
On an orange blouse, but my skin, everything looks orange.
Oh no, you don't look orange. But how are
Okay.
you tonight? This is Miss Shirley Merritt. I brought her in at the Authors Roundtable for her to tell her story. I am the book whisperer, Tammy Marie, and the title of her book is "Turning Lemons into Raspberries." Guys, y'all always you hear the thing, um, turning. What's the other little saying they say?
The other one is making lemonade out of lemons.
Yes. So this is what it's all about. When you writing a book, make sure for the writers out there that's in pre-writing stages and things like that. Make sure
Mhm.
your title is catchy. Make sure you bringing them in. Make sure it's something different. And it is not about nothing's new under the sun, right? But we make things more innovative. We be more creative. Make them better. You know what I'm saying? And I love this title. This is what caught me. And then the colors at that, turning lemons into raspberries. I mean, she even caught the color concept of even the title of the book. Yes,
You're jacking my title up.
turning lemons into raspberry lemonade.
Yeah, you said turn the lemon into raspberries.
Oh, turning lemons into raspberry lemonade.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So this is Miss Shirley. We're gonna dive right into I'm gonna start here so you can just do an overview about, can you tell us about the inspiration behind your book, turning lemons into raspberry lemonade, and what motivated you to share your story? Can we start
Well,
there?
yes, I am I call myself a warrior and a survivor of multiple sclerosis. So I've written a book when I became disabled and I stopped working. That was in 2013, and I was wondering, I said, Lord, what am I supposed to do now with all this free time that I have? So for about 5 years, I just, he gave me things to do, but it still wasn't anything that seemed like my purpose. So I came across a publisher who wanted to publish people who had survivor stories, and so I sent her a paragraph of why I wanted to write my book, and she
Mm-hmm.
liked it, and so she said, "Yes, I'd love to publish this." So I decided that I wanted to write about friends and family, love and adventure, heartache and heartbreak, and ultimately being diagnosed with MS and becoming disabled within 10 years. Um, I'm writing because I want to reach the audience. There's a group of people like myself and we don't and they don't all have MS. This isn't a book about MS. It's not a woe is me book either. People who have chronic illnesses, people who have gone through divorce, people who are depressed, people who just have any kind of a situation to where they feel like they're hopeless. They feel like they cannot cope. They can no longer cope with life. They I wrote this book for those people. When I have book signings, I have so many people that come up and say, I have an aunt who, is this way, or I have a sister who is this way, or a mother who is this way. I think she would love to read this book. And I tell them, I say, yeah, because this book it's not a book about MS. It's not just for people with MS. It's for people who are going through something, people who need to know, I'm trying to help people build up their faith because that's what has got me through this. Becoming disabled by MS broke my heart, and I had to learn how to embrace it.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you a question? Before before moving on, could you explain to me what is MS?
Yeah, multiple sclerosis, it's a disease of the central nervous system. The central nervous system consisting of the brain and the spinal cord. And basically, it is your immune system fighting your body. Basically, it looks at your normal healthy cells and it sees them as enemies, and it attacks the normal healthy cells, thinking that they're bad cells that are trying to harm you. So the normal things that make you function like a normal healthy human being, those things are being attacked.
Mm. So how have you been affected by it as far as
Um,
physical?
yeah, I within, I'd say 10 years, I was using a walker 100% of the time. Um, I use a scooter for long distances. I have a little scooter, electric scooter that I can, take with me anywhere I want to go because walking with the walker might be just too much. Um, I have a rollator, which is like a heavy duty walker with a seat on it. If I choose to take that instead of a scooter,
Mm-hmm.
my right arm, strangely enough, has now been affected. My right arm, my right hand, and fingers. So I typed my book with my left hand only.
Wow, that's
And
amazing.
yes, and you have to use a shift. You have to use the shift key, right? When you type.
Mm-hmm.
God gave me the use of my thumb on the right hand for the shift key.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, let me ask you this before I move on, because I'm still trying to get to the second question, but the Holy Spirit wanted me to ask you this as well. How has this affected your you being in relationships or being in a relationship?
Um, I, I'm going to say this jokingly, but I say that I have to laugh to keep from crying.
Mm-hmm.
But since I became disabled,
Mm-hmm.
I have had one boyfriend. I've been
Mm-hmm.
disabled. I became disabled about 15 years ago. I've lived in my house for 20, almost 22 years, and I've had one boyfriend, and it lasted for about 6 months. That's it. So I tell people, I jokingly tell my friends that men don't see me anymore. They don't look at me. They don't notice
Mm-hmm.
me.
And you're so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
You are.
Mhm. Thank you.
I'm gonna touch on that a little bit later because that's something that people really don't talk about when you being diagnosed with something. Because I know a friend that was diagnosed with cancer,
Oh,
and when she was diagnosed with cancer, she started dating, but she was just diagnosed, and she started dating, and she was like, "Should I tell him? Because I'm going through my process, but I know God is going to bring me through it and bring me out of it." But I don't know if and I'm saying you should, because you want to know if a person is going to be with you through everything. And this is a
right.
season that you need to know if they're going to be with you or not. And this is a hard season for you.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So it just says a lot about a person's character and who they are. And when we're faced with, situations like that.
And
Also
you
in your
and
book,
mhm.
go ahead.
And I was just gonna say, and you don't want to invest your feelings and then tell them, and they jump the ship.
Exactly. Exactly. So I think it's best to, hit it head on. And then also you mentioned in your book, experiencing as we was talking about the devastating diagnosis of multiple sclerosis, which is MS, and the life-changing symptoms that accompany it. How did you initially cope with this diagnosis when it was first given to you, and what led you to embrace it rather than succumb to the depression of it?
Well, my sister was diagnosed first.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, my younger sister, she's 15 months younger than me, and she was diagnosed 3 years before me. And she came, no one else in our family history that we know of had MS or has had MS or has MS. No one, no cousins, no second, third cousins that have been born since we were diagnosed. I mean, no one has it in our family but me and my sister. And she was diagnosed, and she had some initial problems that kind of came and went. So the first thing she did was she came to me and said, "Don't worry, it's not hereditary." Well, I read about it, and after I realized that I needed to have a test done, it's very genetic. There's so many people that have it that have someone else in their family who has it. It could be a
Mm,
mother, a sister, a sibling, a cousin, a grandparent. It's very genetic. But because she had been diagnosed, to answer your question, she had been diagnosed before me, and she had no problems. Her problems, they came and they went quickly. And I felt like, oh, okay, well, if this is all it's going to be, I'll be fine. So when I first was diagnosed, I wasn't as afraid, of what the outcome could be because I was looking at my model sister. But I do remember praying to God and saying, but God, I'm not married yet.
mm,
Who's gonna want me? I started to think of myself as a damaged goods, and I actually wrote a chapter in my book regarding that. And the
mm.
first line in that chapter is, "But God, I'm not married yet."
That's good. I love it.
Hmm.
Do you have you ever been married and have any children?
No, I don't.
You've never been
Never
married?
have. Mm-mm.
Wow. And how old
And
are you? Do you mind me asking?
I'm getting ready to turn 62.
Oh
I
my
I
God.
never ever thought that I would never be married at
Wow.
this age, but I haven't given up on it.
Wow. Oh my girl, this is I don't even know. I mean, and you just you are so at peace and have this calmness about your spirit and how you just facing it. And so what was the what was the strategy that you utilized to not to succumb to the depression or succumb to the disease and the diagnosis? What is your strategy?
Um, just to stay close to God. Um, just you just have to believe. You can't give up believing. I thank Him for my husband. You
Mm,
know, um, I can't wait for people to read the chapter that I wrote about. It's called "Patiently Waiting for Mr. Right,"
mm.
chapter 9. And it's my conversation with God about the husband that I know He's going to bring to me.
Mhm.
Now, even though I'm in my 60s, I know a lady who used to be in one of my book clubs, and she got married for the first time at age 68.
Oh wow.
So I'm thinking, okay, I'm catching up with Carol now. Because when I was diagnosed, I was almost 40 years old.
Oh
And
my
at that
goodness.
point, I had never really thought about wanting to be married. And then
Wow.
all of a sudden I was diagnosed. Then I'm like, oh no, I'm not married.
It's amazing how we never think about, like, we always try to park close to the parking space to walk into the store and not just park all the way back because we don't want to walk. We always think about not walking up the stairs, but as soon as you lose something, it's like you appreciate it more. And I think we should have more gratitude and start appreciate things now in the now before we lose something. You know what I'm saying? Just like
Right.
losing your child, losing a spouse, losing some things in your life, and then that's when we start appreciating it more. I want to also sit, know your close relationship, your close personal relationship with God is I see that as a central theme within your book and your narrative. How has your faith played a role in your journey of living with MS, and what advice do you have for others facing similar challenges?
Um, God, God said to me, and I wrote this in my book. Let's see if I can remember. I can't remember exactly where, but God told me, you have to go through this. He said,
Mm.
but I will go through it with you. And every time I leave my house, somebody wants to help me. Somebody there. I mean, I realized how many nice people were in the world after I became disabled. I was driving up until June 1st.
Oh
And
wow.
my car was totaled. So for the first time in my life, I don't have a car.
Mm.
And so I do Lyft and Uber now because I don't think I want to buy another car. And every time I leave my house, even when I had the car, some but people would, oh, let me help you put your scooter into the car, and people wanted to help me everywhere I went. I always know when people want to help me, that's God going through it with me. He said
Wow, that's
he'd go through
beautiful.
it with me, and so if it weren't for God, I don't understand how people that don't know God even can make it. I don't see how they can survive because if it weren't for God, I have no idea how I would get through this.
Hmm. I said the
Mhm.
same thing because my hope is in Jesus, and without the relationship and the intimacy with God and understanding who He is in your life and understanding who He is, period, and not having that relationship, when we all go through something, He said He reigns on the just and the unjust. So, with that being said, when it's all facing something, it's where's your hope? Where does your hope lie if it's not
Yeah.
in Him and resting and
Mhm.
abiding in Him? That's amazing. And
Yep.
then I want to ask you, could you share some memorable stories or moments from your book that you reflect your resilience and ability to find positivity and challenge in your challenges, in
I
challenging
didn't bring
situations?
I didn't bring a copy of my book out here to my dining room where I am
Oh, you don't have to go to your book. You can just steal like from
to
your
tell you where they are.
yeah, just
Oh,
a
well,
memory, like a story. You can tell
Oh,
a
okay.
story or a moment.
Tell me the
Um,
question again.
hmm?
Tell me what you
Yeah,
asked
just
me this year.
okay. Just a memorable story or a moment when you felt resilience and when you felt the ability to find positivity in your challenges and your circumstance that you're currently facing.
There is a chapter. It's near the end. It might be the one called "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." When I went to Stonecrest Mall, and I had just my insurance had just approved my new scooter,
Mm.
and I went shopping for the first time because it was something that I really just couldn't do with a walker, walk through a mall. So I had my scooter and I went shopping and I wrote about how I enjoyed my shopping excursion and how I went to this store and that store and I bought this and that. And then I wrote about how now I wanted to have lunch, so I went to the food court and I wrote about how in detail, how I got my lunch and I sat there and I ate it at a table, and how I just had a wonderful day with my new scooter and a shopping excursion, something I thought would never again happen in my life. That
That's
that
um,
that answers your question, I think, perfectly.
yes, it did. That's amazing because he's like we look at little things like we have to enjoy like the little moments. You know, that's why I asked that question because of the moments. We have to start enjoying those moments because those moments adds up to the big picture. You know what I'm saying? Those little pieces. And people always say celebrate the small wins. A small win for me is a big win because it's a win,
Hmm.
and you
Yeah,
accomplish something. You are because you are a champion, and that is so sweet.
and
Um,
I want to add that I'm so glad God let me experience that then, because
mhm.
now I won't go to a mall for anything. It's so unsafe.
Oh wow!
I won't go to a mall now
Why do you feel it's unsafe? Because of the violence or
because of all
yeah,
the
like that?
crime. Yeah.
What state do you live in?
I live here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh really?
Yeah, I
Oh
live
girl.
right over
What
here.
side of town you on with all this? Oh, listen.
Yeah, I mean, I used to go to the mall, all the time.
Mm,
Since I had my scooter and everything, and now I won't go near it. Mm-mm.
wow. Okay, living with a progressive and debilitating illness. I don't want to continue to talk about this because I know you want to express more about. I wanted to talk about you was talking about earlier about the different dynamics of your book, and one of them, the dynamics was friends and family. And how did that play a role? Like, did your sister? Did your sister has she progressed as much as you, or have you surpassed her in that progression?
Yeah, she didn't progress at all. Not at all.
Oh wow,
You cannot even tell she has MS. And
wow.
I asked her one time, "Do you even feel like you have MS?" She said, "Yeah." And I said, "What do you feel?" Because hers looks invisible. And she said, "Sometimes my balance is a little off, and she'll tell me, like, sometimes if she and her boyfriend go to a football game or something, he may hold her hand when they're walking up and down the steps and stuff. But that's about it, you know. She doesn't have any disabilities, surely nothing visible, and nothing that keeps her from doing anything. So, strange, I mean, not strangely enough, but I was going to say strangely enough, but unfortunately, we are estranged now, so we haven't talked in a year, but I know she's fine.
Mm. Because I want to ask you a hard question. It's gonna be a
Mhm.
hard question now. I sometimes ask hard questions. Seeing her, I don't know what's going on with my lighting, but seeing her not being as progressive as yours have, and you see her, and then she has a boyfriend. She's experiencing that part of life as far as a relationship. Um, how? Uh, just be honest, and it's a hard question. Do you have envy her in some type of way, or at any point, or some type of jealousy at any point? You know, seeing her in her situation.
No, honestly, no. I
Okay.
never have. She's never had a disability. The whole, I've had a disability almost since day one. Mine was invisible for about 9 years, but I was very well aware that my right side was the one where was what was going to stop working. My leg was dragging, and even though the people couldn't tell it was dragging, I could feel it. So, and she never ever progressed. As soon as she was diagnosed, we took a trip. We were on a plane to California and did a vacation in Hollywood and in San Francisco, and she was fine. But no, I've never envied her. What I do feel, I wonder if it were me, if I was the one that was healthy and she was the one that was progressing. I would call her every day. Honest to God, God knows I'm telling the truth. I would call her every day and say, "What can I do for you today?" She
Mm.
can go. We went 5 years without her talking to me. And then we started talking when my father passed away. And then about a year later, she wasn't talking to me anymore. She's just, we're different in that way. I would never leave her alone. I would never be jealous of her. I'm happy that I thank God. When I say my prayers, I thank God that she has not gotten any worse. And I ask God to protect her boys because it is genetic. I ask him to protect her sons. Her sons are in their 30s. Um, it's going to happen to someone else in our history. We just don't know when and who. But and
Well, I want you to.
we
I
might
want
be
you
gone.
to. I want you to break that generational curse, that cycle, and that pattern because it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to happen. If you go to Deuteronomy 28, it talks about generational curses and blessings.
Hmm.
And I want you to start speaking life and speaking blessings over you, your family, and even the next generation because we don't have to have that curse. Just because the world say, our doctors say it's genetic, it doesn't belong to you. It doesn't belong to us. It doesn't belong to our children. And it's not going to pass on to our grandchildren, nor our siblings, nor our nieces and our nephews. You see what I'm saying? So you have to
Hmm.
start praying that prayer for the covering of that is eradicated and no longer exists. Does that make sense? But
Yes.
I want you to take that to heart, and I want you to read Deuteronomy and really dive into that and meditate on the blessings of the Lord and the blessings of God, and that we don't have to receive anything that the enemy. Because Jesus, when he did die, he took all of that. He took all our transgressions. He took all our pain. He took the disease. And once we come to that conclusion and that understanding, and not have doubt and believe, you will know that you can also be healed. But I know sometimes when you're walking in that and you see a diagnosis or whatever, which when we face with something, and it's majority goes this way, and you know what I'm saying. But we have to trust God, trust God. And you also mentioned that your narrative includes accounts of like heartache and heartbreak, in addition to moments of joy and adventure you was talking about earlier. Can you provide an example of how you turn a difficult experience into something positive? Because we're talking about turning lemons into raspberry, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, well, the heartache and heartbreak would be people like maybe I'm in a relationship. I was in a relationship and the guy couldn't handle the fact that he knew other people with MS. I had a relationship one time where he couldn't handle that, and so he couldn't stay in the relationship. Because he knew of people who became wheelchair bound and even
Oh
passed
wow.
away. Mhm. And let's see, what was the other thing that you asked me? Adventure. Oh wow. I've done things like I've gone and I talk about this in my book. One day I asked my sister, I said, "Hey, it's Christmas time. Do you want to go around and give maybe sack lunches or something to the homeless?" And she said, "Well, she didn't have time." And I said, "Okay." Well, I received an email. I don't know where it came from, but it was about a group of women who were making sack lunches to
Wow.
go out and give to the homeless. And they were, I don't know where this email came from, honest to God. And so anyway, I said, I want to sign up. So we met. This was when the world was, I guess it was more trusting because we were supposed to meet at this apartment. So I go to this apartment. I don't even know these people. And I go and I take, whatever I'm bringing to contribute, and we go up and I knock on the door and we start making the lunches. Now, who would do that now? And so and so we went up under the highways. Here I am. I'm not using a walker yet, but we're walking up, we're climbing these, I call them pyramids, because the big concrete or cement legs that hold the bridges up.
Oh
You know,
yes, 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 yes.
we're walking up these slanted, big pyramid looking things, and I'm praying the whole time, asking God to please don't let my legs give because I'll fall down into the street and possibly get run over. And so we would make it up to the top there, but, like, sometimes when you drive down the highway now and you see if you look up in the joints, you see the people, the homeless people, you see their little tents, and you
Mm-hmm.
can see their beds and their stuff. Well, we went up there and we saw all this stuff, and everywhere we went, no one was home. They were probably out
Mm-hmm.
panhandling and stuff, but we would leave they would have open Bibles up there and, next to their bed or whatever, and we would leave a sack lunch, and,
Oh
um,
wow.
and we would pray, over whoever lived there. And I had a mess. I'm praying, God, don't let my legs give out. And that was some adventure. That was adventurous. And I remember I dated a guy. One time we went and climbed the mountain, Stone Mountain.
Mm.
But I wasn't disabled, so I could still do it. I wasn't even using a walker then. So I've taken a plane and gone to California, I mean San Jose. All while I had MS. I remember I wanted to go and see a band member that I knew from high school. I met a guy in St. Louis when I was in band, and he had a band in San Antonio. Me and my relatives went to San Antonio, so I decided we're going to go for Mexican, and this R&B band plays at this Mexican restaurant. We're going to surprise my friend, and so sure enough, we went there. The band was playing. We had a table right up front. It was a wonderful surprise. That was an adventure. So before I became disabled, I was still traveling and doing adventurous things. And
Well,
I plan to do more. I'm going to Hawaii as soon as, I mean, I know about the tragedy in Maui, but you know,
I'm glad you got to experience those moments, but still experiencing life. And you get to hold on to those memories, because memories is what a lot of times what even keeps us going, even if it's bad or good.
yeah,
Those memories is very strong. So also through your book, you talk about the importance of maintaining a positive, you just a positive person. You smiling a lot. You just beautiful. You're such a light, a bright light.
thank
Um,
you.
you talk about maintaining a positive outlook on life. What advice would you give to the individuals who are struggling to find positivity in their own challenging situations, whatever they're facing, whether it's financial or a diagnosis, or whether it's a divorce or separation and things like that?
Just first of all, you've got to stay close to God. Hopefully, they know God because if you have God in your life, how can you help but have a positive outlook on your future? If you have faith, you've got to increase your faith. If you don't have enough faith, you've got to figure out a way to increase it. And then find things that you just love to do. If there was something you love to do, if you're, I don't know what your ailment or your situation might be, but if you're disabled or if you cannot do those things, then find something close to it that you still can do. If you're depressed, that's a good one. That's a hard one. Um, you know, I think only a medical person would know what to tell a depressed person. But you know what I tell people who tell me that they're going through depression? I say, look at me in my life. If I'm not depressed and you're healthy, and how are you going to be depressed? I just can't understand how anybody can be. If I'm not depressed, and this is going on with me. So,
Let me
you
tell you
know,
how. I'm gonna tell you how.
yeah. Okay.
Because like my book is pink, just like your book is pink, right? Your
Hmm.
book is pink. My book is also pink, from my brokenness to wholeness. So with you being a woman and selling your book, and me being a woman selling my book about my personal journey, a lot of men buy my book, but a lot of times some men ask me, "Well, is this book for men?" And what I tell them is, what I'm gonna tell you as well, trauma is trauma. And even if I experience something, as little as another person, in their eyes, as little as they experience something, whether it's in their experience is more, in their situation is bigger or a bigger challenge, it's still their challenge and their situation for them. And so it's still all on the same scale, because everybody responds to things differently. So we can go through depressed situations. So I wouldn't tell nobody, not, I'm talking about me personally, not you, but I wouldn't tell nobody you don't need to feel this way, because I was able to get through something. I was able to get through my pain, my rape, my molestation, or whatever. But some other girl might start cutting herself. Another girl might try to commit suicide and take pills. Another girl might go and do prostitution. Some people just, can't. And that's what you are here for. That's what I'm here for. The ones that has the strength to overcome their situation and challenges. And that's why I love your story, because how you're facing it with such light and such positivity, to speak life and say, look, I am an overcomer. And this is the strategies that I have set in place. And maybe these strategies can help you too, or we can fine tune something for you. Does that make
Hmm.
sense? And
Yes.
that's how I want you to start facing, because I really want you to start impacting and talking to more girls and more women, in regards to even males that's going through that, and find your purpose in your story, and where God, like, I want to know right now, every, like, how does your day to day look like for you, or month to month, or year to year, since you're not working? What are you doing right now?
I have I'm getting ready to start writing a fiction novel. So I've been spending time trying to decide what I want to write about. So I've been doing some reading. I have book signings. I had one last weekend. And I have one at the end of September. And then I
Mm.
have another one in October. So
Okay.
yeah, so I'm doing that, and I just try to, not that I don't have a car anymore, I'm at home more than I would care to be. But I find things to do even at home, because there's just so much, like I said, I'm trying to, well, I'll be tied to the computer once I start writing again.
Do you feel you found your purpose um in your life?
No.
You
No, I asked God. So even when I wrote the book, my friends would say, "Oh, that's your purpose. That's your purpose." No, that's not my purpose. I said I could see that being my purpose if something great came out of me writing the book, to where it reached people, and maybe something just terrific really, came out of writing the book. Yeah, I became a New York bestseller because I touched, this group of people, and everybody in the world's buying my book, and all this kind of stuff. That I could see that being my purpose then. But I'm no. I ask God almost daily, why was I created? Please tell me what my purpose is. You did not create me to have a nice home and sit up and look at the walls. You created me for a reason. Please let me know what it is.
But can I ask you this?
Hmm.
Since you are discovering God, have you discovered yourself?
I don't really understand how to answer that.
Your identity.
I think my answer would be no.
And that's why you haven't found your purpose. Because
Mm,
I'm going to email you my book. I have a book that's called The Three Ds. Discover God. When you discover God, then you're going to discover who you are, your identity, right? And once you discover your identity, you're going to discover your purpose. You're going to discover the gifts and talents that God has placed on the inside of you. And we have more than one gift. We have like 66 gifts and talents that God has placed on the inside of us. So when people say, trying to make a jack of all trades negative, it's not a negative thing, because God has put so much inside of us. You're going to experience this right here. You're going to experience that you can sing, that you can dance, that you can write, that you can also draw as well. And all those things are a part of who you are, who God made you to be. So I want to email that to you, because I think that's something that will assist you in your next journey with God. Because it sounds like y'all having a good time right now. And this is a good place that you are, that you don't have to be bogged down with corporate America. You don't have to be bogged down with a 9 to 5. So
mm,
utilizing this, and God is about time, and God is about time, and utilizing your time well, and not wasting time in this earth, and every day that we waking up. Um, Also, here you said in your book, turning lemons into raspberry lemonade. Sorry, is an inspirational title. What message or takeaway do you hope the readers will gain from it, from your book, particularly those who may be dealing with their own personal trials and tribulations?
um, well, like my subtitle says, making the worst experiences the best ever. You know, you have to turn something bad into something good, make it better. You know, if you're in a bad situation, what is it that Kelly Clarkson says at the end of her show? If you if you're something about if your day is not great or if you're not having a good day, make it better. I can't remember exactly what she says, but that's what you have to do. If you have to make it better, you've got to figure out a way to make it better. There are many mornings that I wake up and I feel like a freight train has hit me, you know, and I've had 7 hours sleep, but I get up and I'm like, okay, I've got to make my day better.
Mm. Let me ask you something, because you said you said something very profound, making it better, and you were saying something also about you haven't found your purpose, and you feel like this is not your purpose because it's not it hasn't sold a million copies, or it's not the bestseller and things like that. But I'm gonna leave you with this before we get off of here, and to everybody out there that will listen to this later on and do the replay. If you When you look at the replay, just say I got it. Just say I got it in the comments. But I want you to, just because a million people that you feel is not, you're not a bestseller, you are. If you impact one person's life, and then that person impact 10,000, you impact 10,001. If we start looking at things like that and not try to be the bestseller,
Mhm,
sometimes I don't usually say this publicly, but now I'm being moved to say it now, because my dad preached on Sunday. I went to his church and I danced, and he said something very profound, because I was trying to understand what a prophetess was, and what what a prophetess is. And every time we see prophets or prophetess or whatever like that, you see them on TV, or on some social media, or in a church, prophesizing to the people, and to people, worldly or whatever like that, in the world, in the earth, as a big group of people. But my dad talked about something very profound and broke some things down, understanding that sometimes and I always tell people, I'm assigned to you, I'm assigned to you, I'm assigned to tell you this, I'm assigned, because I'm not the person that will go outright and say, oh, I'm prophesying I'm prophesying this, I'm prophesying that.
mhm,
But I'm assigned to people, and I prophesy to that person that I'm assigned to. So I don't come on and say I'm for to prophesy to you, or like that. You know what I'm saying?
right.
So I'm saying this to say this. Um, just because it's not a bestseller, don't look for it to be a bestseller. God is gonna, let God be your advocate. Let God be your publicist. We always so quick to be like, go on social media, go on social media. I don't go on social media that much. God, everybody, like even Eric Williams, I talked to him and he signed up with me. And I want to thank you for that.
Mhm.
You're such a beautiful person. And just being connected to you. Now look who I'm connected to. That's how I get business, by word of mouth and the people that from divine connections. And I don't have a bestseller, but I'm a bestseller. You know what I'm saying? Because of who God is, with the calling that's on my life and the anointing that's on your life and the calling that's on your life.
Mhm.
So you are in your purpose. It's just now things that's gonna now come out when once you understand that foundation. That's the foundation. The book is the foundation, right?
Mhm.
Laid the bricks. Now other things are gonna come out. Book signings, okay, t-shirts, or whatever it makes, programs, mentorships, talking to groups, having a grief counseling program. You see things like that. That's what's gonna come. That's the but this book, this beautiful book right here, and your beautiful story is the foundation. So this is the purpose. You see what I'm saying? So don't let this go. Any last words that you want to say before we leave?
I just want to tell people that, if they have a story, write it down. Just start writing. Don't put it off. I've run into so many people, like the young lady that I met at the book signing that I gave your information to. I hope she calls you.
And
Um,
she signed. Oh, and she, what's her name? Yeah, she just signed up. She put herself on my calendar for next week, so I'll
did
be talking to her.
she? She never came back. She was supposed to come back and let me sign her book, and I was going to get her name and give it to you. I don't even know her name. You
Carolyn May. Her name is
know?
Carolyn
Okay.
May, and I talked to
Yeah.
her, and I
Okay.
gave her my. She's so sweet. She's so excited.
Okay.
She was excited to meet you.
She said, "I have a
Um,
story. She's gonna love it."
she was so excited to meet you. So she was
Mm,
she was she was excited because she met you when she called me. So that was
mm.
the excitement came from you, because whatever you told her,
Oh,
I have no idea. But so
yeah.
she
So,
was so excited, and I gave her my calendar, and she signed up with me for next week for me to speak to her and do her interview and get started.
hmm
So I mean, see how you said that, that's two people. I didn't even think about that. That's two people just being connected to
I
you.
told Eric, I said, "Tammy is the real deal." So I said, "You're in good hands."
I spoke with him and he was like, after he spoke with me, he was like, okay, I trust you. Like, you ain't stumbling over your words and this and that and
hmm
da da da.
hmm And he
But
told me, he said, I trust you. I trust any whoever you send me to. I trust you."
that's see,
Yeah.
that's your purpose. And my purpose is I'm a connector. Okay,
hmm
that's one of my purposes. So you have many. I'm a connector. And that's what I do. I connect people. And you are the same way. You are connected. You just connecting people and networking. Like you connected with those people to go do homeless, to the home to go feed the
Oh,
homeless.
yeah.
You're
And
a
then I got
connector.
an email. I got an email. I'm like, who sent me that email?
See,
God,
and
God was
you manifest things when you speak things. That's why I said when you start speaking over your family, when you speak things, they come into fruition. Do you see that? You
yeah.
just spoke it and then it came in an
Because
email.
when I got there, I didn't know anybody there. I'm like, where did I get the email from?
And then when you even spoke, I will go through it with you. When you felt like you know God will, and you see and you spoke that, you see people just all around you. You see what I'm
Yes.
saying? So that's a part of your purpose. That's a part of your anointing. So you have to see
Mhm.
all these things, these beautiful things around you, and don't say you don't know what your purpose is. And when you start looking at it like that, you're gonna start seeing, and you're gonna start elevating to the next level. Because you're not gonna be so oppressed and thinking about just I'm not a bestseller. Um,
Mhm.
it's and a lot of times, let me tell you something. Please do not look at bestsellers, because bestsellers a lot of times is they're not true bestsellers. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Being on Amazon, people that's on Amazon, they're not true bestsellers. It's a way to get around things to become a bestseller on Amazon. That's a whole nother story and a whole nother topic. I have to talk to you about that in our power calls. Our power once a month. That's something I talk about with y'all about being a bestseller. To
Mhm.
remove that stigma, and then also being on the bestseller as far as the new what's it called? Not the New York Times, but
That's the one I mentioned, the New York Times. That's the
not just
one.
it was another one too. But just I don't want everybody don't get so caught up in the title. Get caught
Mm,
up in the purpose. Because when you get caught up in the purpose, God is going to take you there. He's going to provide the resources, just like He's doing me. And I'm grateful
mm,
to you that you could, being connected to you. I'm grateful to Kelly. See, being me connected to Kelly, connected me to you, and now you connected me
yeah.
to others. See what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying? So I mean, that's beautiful in itself, you know.
Oh,
And I just want to thank you so much for coming on my show, and I appreciate you put yourself on my calendar. I'm just so grateful that you sat down with me to tell your story.
thank
And it's
you for
not just
having me.
about. And I want you to give it just a little bit overview because it's not just about your diagnosis. Could you tell us a little bit more about what the book is about, surpassing just the diagnosis?
Well, the book is about my life, how in every chapter I went through something that I had to turn around. When I was
Mm,
little, I started, the first chapter is called Jim and Connie. That's my mother and father. I wanted to give the first chapter, I wanted to be how I was created, what kind of life I came from, my
mm,
mother and father, what that's why my first chapter was very in very much detail, about my mother and my father and how they met and had us. And then after that, I just kind of went through my life. My teenage, we moved from California to Alabama, and then my teenage years, and then my college, A&M, and then on my own, after college on my own. Then Georgia on my mind is the next
mm,
chapter when I moved to Georgia. And then, it just goes from there. The one regarding my father, when my father passed away, that chapter is called Daddy's Home. And
mm.
it was Daddy's Home. And it was funny because Octavia, she's already started reading the book, and she said, I picked out a chapter, and the first one I read was Daddy's House. And I said, Daddy's Home. And she said, Oh, I love the chapter. It's called Daddy's Home. I said, Yeah, do you know what that means? And she said, Isn't it about your dad's house? I said, It means he's home, he's in heaven.
You know what? See, I found another gift within yourself because, like, when we read the Bible, we have to understand words in context
Mhm.
and breaking those words and understand the definition of word because it does make a difference in the understanding and how you'll get revelation and understanding and clarity in something just by one word. Because one word, don't or do, change the whole dynamic of a thing, right? Just like when you corrected
Daddy's
me in your
house.
title, you know what I'm saying? It changes the whole dynamic of the
Mhm.
perspective on the thing that you're talking about. So we have to
Mhm.
really be careful about those words and understanding what home is and what the definition of home is, what the definition of limits is, and the difficulties and challenges and all these things in order to get to the root, in order to get to the
Mhm.
understanding, in order to get to the
Mhm.
elevation, and to get to the growth. You know what I'm saying? To get to the next level. But I want to say this to you, Shirley. You are
Mhm.
absolutely beautiful. You are
Thank
absolutely
you.
amazing. And your spirit is so bright. And your husband is on the way.
Thank you,
That's
Jesus. I
that's
I I believe it. I
that's
receive
I don't
it.
know where that came from, but he is. And it's gonna be a person that's like a caregiver to you. It's gonna
Mhm.
be somebody that's gonna just love you and just take care of you. Gonna be so gentle with you because you have such a gentle spirit. So you're gonna need a man with strength, but in his strength, he's gonna be so gentle. Because men need to understand too, a man's strength is in his gentleness with a woman because not just the diagnosis that we're faced. Being having a menstrual cycle is a diagnosis. Having PMS for a woman is a diagnosis. It's so much that goes into all these nuances, and they be like, "Why women are so emotional and crazy? Things are out of balance and out of whack." So we just face them like a champ, and we just
Mhm.
normalize a diagnosis. You see what I'm saying? We have
Yeah.
normalized PMS. We have normalized so many things. You haven't even normalized your MS and said, I accept this, I receive it, and I'm gonna go through it with God. And you
Mhm.
don't have to accept it. You know that, right? You don't have to
Mhm.
receive it. It doesn't belong to you. But until you come to that own, for yourself, you will see. But all that I have for you is you are a light, you are beautiful, and your husband is on the way. He's gonna be the
Mhm.
most gentle, but he's gonna be so strong because he's gonna have to be able to carry you.
Mhm.
sometimes, and he
Yeah.
will. And he's gonna be so excited to do it because he's gonna love you just that much, and he's gonna love you on such a deep level. It's gonna be so beautiful, and then you're gonna have another story. You
Yep.
have another
And my
story.
guess what the book is going to be called?
What is the?
Raspberry lemonade for two.
And you know what? He's gonna say, "No, Shirley, no," and he's gonna tell you something else. It's gonna. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it. It's gonna be something else, though. It's gonna be something else. It's gonna be a new thing.
And you're gonna do my fiction novel.
It's gonna be a new thing. I'm telling you, it's gonna be a new thing. He's gonna give you a new title. It's gonna be a new thing. It's gonna be a new thing. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it. And do you want to say anything else before we leave here? And I just want to thank everybody that joined in. And when you join in on the replay, thank y'all so much for being here and just sitting down, hearing Miss Shirley's story, taking your time out to listen to us. Every Friday night, I'm gonna have a new author on. The next author that will be on will be Sharonda Thompson on next Friday at 8 o'clock, and I'm excited to hear from her as well. And I thank you so much. I'm so grateful to you for
Thank
sitting with me
you.
and
Thank you
allowing
for
me into your
having me.
space.
Thank you for having me.
Do you want to have anything else to say? And we finna just get off of here. We're gonna
Just
have and you enjoy the rest of your evening tonight.
thank you. Same
You
to you.
too. Thank you so much for everything. And I'll be emailing you this evening. If I don't do it this evening, girl, don't charge it to my heart, charge it to my head. I'm a school teacher and I'm at school all day but my middle schoolers,
Grade do you teach? What grade do you teach?
middle school.
Um,
What I'm teaching right now is math, but I don't. That's not my subject matter. I took my
okay.
case for language arts. That's what I want to teach. Language arts and science. My degree is in science, and
And do
my
you have
degree with
children?
God is with language arts.
Yeah. Do you have children yourself?
I have one. My son, he's 18 years old. He just graduated last year. He just turned 18
Okay.
July the 29th of this year.
Okay.
So he just graduated this year, actually, May 24th or something like that. May the 29th,
Mhm.
day after my birthday, actually. So I never forget
Mhm.
it. So I have one
Yeah.
son.
Okay.
Well, I will be talking to you because I will be seeing you tomorrow on the call because we also have a book club that she has joined. I mean, she
Mhm.
just does so many amazing things. So I can't wait to see how God blesses you in return for you blessing others. And I just want to say good night to you, and I love you. And I'll also see you tomorrow. And be looking out
Okay.
for my email. All
Okay.
right, all
Good
right.
night.
Good night, love.